Hello everyone, do you like car simulations? Do you wonder how to create a simple yet realistic car movements in Scratch? I am Richa Jain and today we are going to show you how to create a realistic car movement in the simplest way in Scratch. As you can see on the screen, the car can actually move forward, backward, can take turn with the steerings. Wow, isn't it cool? So in case you want to learn this in the easiest way ever, stay tuned with me till the end of this video. I am sure you are going to love this tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel right away. We will implement this simulation in easiest 5 steps. As you can see on the screen as well, first we are going to code for the front wheels. We will give our car front wheels that will be able to point towards mouse pointer and move backward and forward. A car body that will also be able to move front and back with the realistic movement. Yes, if we are talking about the car movement, we will have to implement a steering that actually takes the turn. And finally, we will work on the parking. There is a parking slot and we will see how to exactly be able to park a car inside the parking area. And finally, you can also implement the collisions. So without wasting any time, let's get started and make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Stay tuned with this video till end and share it with all your friends. So let's get started now. Create a new project in Scratch. First thing, I'm going to create a arrow sprite. Arrow sprite that will actually act as a front wheel. So I will also name it as front wheel. Start drawing it. So when you draw it, make sure that the tail of your arrow is at the center of this screen. Yes, so you can see this arrow. The tail is at the center of the screen. What do we want? First thing, what do you want? We want this arrow to point towards the mouse pointer and it should happen forever. So I'm going to take this forever loop and this arrow is going to point towards mouse pointer forever. Isn't it easy? So let's see if it is working or not. Yeah, it is working perfectly fine. My pointer is always pointing towards mouse pointer. So arrow is pointing towards mouse pointer. Fine. And when do we want this to happen? We want this to be triggered when my green flag is clicked. Let's position it initially. So initially we can position it to 0, 0 so that it is always at the center of the screen. It always starts from the center of the screen and also set the direction. So if I am stopping it here, the direction becomes 57, minus 57, as you can see here as well. I don't want it to be minus 57 when the game starts. I want it to be 0 degrees. So let's set it. So it is always pointing in 0 degrees. So basically the original position where it is pointing towards. Yes, so this looks fine. Okay, what next? Next, I want this arrow to be able to move with up and down arrow keys. So for this, I'm going to show you a very nice trick. But before that, let's create a block. We will name this block as move. And this will take a input. Input could be steps. You know, how many steps we want it to move. Okay, so I have a block. I have created a custom block, move steps. So when we talk about move steps, what do you think about? Yes, you go to motion and we are going to use this move steps block. But here it says 10 steps. Instead of 10, we will say move steps. Whatever steps we want to move it, this is going to move. And this block we are going to use here in forever. But one thing, one very good trick that I'm going to show you now is how do we use this key pressed event to make a decision? Fine. So here you can see this key space pressed. What do we want? We want up arrow and down arrow. When up arrow is pressed and down arrow is pressed, take an operator. So when up arrow is pressed, minus down arrow is pressed. I have taken a minus operator. So why I have taken this minus operator? Because I want my car to move either up or down. Up means in the forward direction and down means in the backward direction. Down key means in the backward direction. So a backward direction means a minus sign, and a upward direction or up arrow is a positive sign. And what happens when key up arrow key is pressed or down arrow key is pressed? When up arrow key is pressed, this value key up pressed will be 1. Okay. And when down arrow key is pressed, this value will be 1. In any case, either this will be 1 or that will be 1. And other value is going to be always 0. So consider the scenario when we are pressing up arrow key. This is 1 and this is going to be 0. So what will be the value of this overall operation? The value will become 1. Okay. Now consider another scenario when we are pressing down key. In this case, my down arrow press will be 1 and this will be 0. So the entire operation will have a value of minus 1. So with this way, we can control if my car should move forward, that is a positive 1, or it should move backward, that is a negative 1. So this is going to be a very good trick. Save it for all your future assignments. It's going to be very, very helpful. Okay, so let me clear all this drawing and use it. So we are going to use it. Move key, if up arrow key is pressed, it will actually move 1 step. Okay. And if down arrow key is pressed, it will actually again move minus 1 step. I believe you know how. If you have any question, reverse this video and see the explanation. Listen to the explanation again. Let's give it a test right away. So yes, it is pointing towards mouse pointer. And if I press up, it goes up in the forward direction. And if I press down arrow key, it goes in the backward direction. Very good. But what is a car without a speed? We should give it a speed as well, right? So for giving it a speed, let's take a variable. I'm going to create a new variable, name it as a speed. So I have a new variable, named it as a speed. Let's set the value. Initially, let's set the value to 1. So we have a speed of maybe, 1 pixels per time, or you can change it also. So let's keep it as 3 initially at the beginning. And instead of saying move steps, I am again going to use the operator, this multiplication operator, which will say move speed multiply by steps. Steps will just give it a direction, either positive or negative direction. So let's test it again. Yes, so this is faster now. This is pretty faster. It can move in all the direction according to the mouse pointer. So pretty cool it is. You can also change the speed. Maybe let's change it to 8 and see what happens. I am sure it is going to be a pretty fast car, but yes, let's test it. Yeah, this is pretty cool. So you can keep the speed according to your wish. I'm making it 3. I was good with 3. Okay, next, I want to draw a car body. So again, create a new sprite, or rather paint a new sprite. I am going to zoom in a little bit and create a car body. Again, when you are creating the car body, you will have to make sure that your center position of the car body is where you want your steering to be. So this is my car body. I am adjusting the position. Also make a note of the size on the screen if you want to make it bigger or smaller. So maybe my front wheel are going to be at this position. Okay. I have my body of the car ready. You can also give it some beautiful color. So let me give it a beautiful color. What about a sporty red color? Yes, I like the sporty red color. So let me give it a sporty red color. Yeah. So we have our beautiful looking sporty red car ready. Let's start with the code. So what do I want? At the very beginning, I want when this green flag is clicked forever. First, let's, reset the position. Go to 00 because this will be the place where we are going to start. Point in direction. So point in 0 degree direction. This is so that, it is in sync with my arrow. When forever, what do we want? This should always point towards the mouse pointer. Let's give it a name. I'm naming it as car, and this car should always point towards the mouse pointer. So let's make it point towards the mouse pointer, not mouse pointer, my arrow. So this is going to always point towards the front wheel. So let's see if it is working or not. My front wheels are, yeah, so this is always pointing towards the mouse pointer. Very good if my mouse pointer goes up and down, but it should also go to the mouse pointer. It should also move with the arrow, which we are treating as a front wheel. It should also move with the front wheels. So we are going to say go to front wheels. Go to front wheel. Let's give it a test. Oh, wow. Isn't it cool? Yes, it's nice. Very good. But do you see a problem here? Do you see a problem here? What is happening? This car is actually lagging a little bit. Lagging a little bit with arrow. So basically first my car moves and then my arrow moves. So let's correct this. We are going to broadcast a message. Broadcast a new message that will be move. And all this code, instead of when flag is clicked, we will say when I receive move. So let's test it if the issue has been corrected or not. Yes, so the car has been more smoother now. This is more and more smoother now. But it is actually taking a turn because it is always pointing towards the mouse, towards the front wheel. So let's correct this as well. Now what we are going to do, instead of making it taking turns with my mouse pointer, it should actually be able to take turns with the arrow keys so that it gives it a steering look. Okay, so let's start implementing steering. So here, instead of pointing towards mouse pointer, we will again implement a new block. We will name it as turn. Okay, and this will take an input variable. That could be, like how many degrees you want it to take a turn. So when you want to park the car, you will have to make a decision, how much you want your steering to turn. So this is exactly the same turn which your car is going to take with the help of left and right arrow keys. So let's write this block, take turns. For taking turns also, we will be using the same technique as we used here. So let's make a copy of this thing. So let's make a duplicate. And instead of saying up and down arrow key, this time it is going to be right and left. The logic remains same. When you press right arrow key, the value will be 1, and for left arrow key, it will be 0. So basically it will take a turn 0 degree, 1 degree or minus 1 degree accordingly if right arrow key is pressed or left arrow key is pressed. Use this function turn here. Okay, and now what do we want to write in turn? How it will take a turn? We will have to take a variable steering. That will be my degrees. This turn which we have written here is only going to decide if it should take a right turn or a left turn. But a new variable steer will decide how much it wanted to take a turn. Should it turn completely 360 degrees, or should it turn, 10-15 degrees according to where the parking area is. So again, take a variable steer. That will decide how much my steering should actually take a turn. We should set the value to something. Maybe I can set the value to maybe 10 degrees. We will see how it looks. If it doesn't look good, we will change it. So you will also have to take the call accordingly. So here, change steer. Change steer by how much? Change steer by some amount of degrees that is coming here. And this degree, as you know, will always come as either 1 or -1. So we want to give it some amplification, some sort of acceleration. So that acceleration we are going to give with the help of operators. So let's take a turn by degrees multiply by say 4. Again, this is, we are trying with a number 3 or 4. You can also give it another number according to the program that will suit your project. Set the value, set the steering value. Again, we will have to use operators, set the value to something like degrees multiply by 10. We will see how it works. We will see it. So this way, the value of steer will be set according to how much you want to take a turn. But we will have to, point in direction as well. We will have to point it in the direction of the car. Point in direction, how much we want to point it? We want to point it in the direction of the car. This arrow should actually point towards the direction of car. So car, and what do we want? The direction of car. So let's give it a test and see how it is working. Yes, it is able to move left and right, but there is some problem which we will have to fix. Yes, the problem is we are saying point in direction of the car, but we are not giving it a steering property. So we will add a steering amount to it. Otherwise, it is not, going to take a turn. It will just point towards the car. So plus steer. I hope it will work this time. So don't worry if you are also getting some bugs in your program. It is not working. Be calm. Try to find out where the problem is and fix it. I am sure you will be able to do it. Car is working fine. It is a steering. But do you notice at the center, actually, its direction is confused. Its direction gets confused and it suddenly takes a 180 degrees turn. So how do we fix it? I think what we should do, we should give this entire car a length, and my steering should also move according to the length of the car. Variable body length. Okay, set its value. So we can set it value. Initially, I'm trying it with 15. We will see if we will have to change it. So set body length to 15, and when this car is actually moving, we are saying go to front wheel. We can also add a command so that it goes to front wheel, but it goes a little step behind. It goes a little step behind so that the position of car and the pointer is in conjunction. So move, we are going to use this command move. And how much we want to move it? We want to move it backward. So we want to move it in a minus direction. So again, to minus direction, we will use this operator minus, and we are going to say 0 minus, minus what? Body length and maybe plus a speed. So again, take this minus body length. So go to variable, and we are going to take this variable body length plus the speed of the car. And this is how much we want it to move. So let's see how this code is working now. Let's give it a good test this time. Yes. So let's make a change, make some few changes in the car length. I am going to make the changes in the car length as 20. That 16 was not working well enough. So let's give it a test again. I hope it will work this time. Yes, so with 16, this seems to be working fine. Yes, good enough. Now we would like to enhance this simulation that we have created so nicely. We would like to enhance it as a parking game. What is a parking game? For parking game, we need to park this car in the parking slot. So let's create a new sprite that will be parking slot. Name it as parking. And we are going to make a copy of this one so that, we get understanding of the size, how much big we want our parking slot. Create the similar size rectangle. You can give it any color of your choice. Okay, so this seems to be good enough. And I don't need it. I will simply remove it. I got the idea how much big it should be, and make sure again it is centered. Okay, so we will also give it another costume. We already have it. We will make a duplicate of it, and this one we are going to remove, and this one we will use to make a boundary of it. And remove the inner one. Okay, so we have the outline and we have the main like parking area. Why do we need these two costumes? So let's see it now. First thing, we should position them. Let's position them and give them some direction. So I want it to be in 0-degree direction, something like this. Okay, let's give it a position where we want it to park. Okay, so fine. This is okay. This position seems fine. Make it a little down. Will be better. Yes, this is my parking position. Let's start coding for the parking. So we will have to see when this car is actually touching this parking area, it means the car is in parking area. But we will also have to see if it is completely inside the parking area or not. So let's take this event again. When this green flag is clicked, in a forever loop, we want to keep on checking if the car is actually touching the parking area. Before that, switch the costume to, let's rename the costume first. Yeah. So this we can name as parking area, and this we can rename as parking boundary. Okay. Switch the costume to parking area. Initially, my costume is going to be parking area, and we want to make a decision. We want to understand, or we want to see if my car is actually touching the parking area. So if this is touching, if this is touching, this parking area is touching car. Okay, we want to switch the costume to outline. See it very carefully. Switch the costume to boundary, and let's say something so that we know it is actually touching, and we can say touching boundary. This is again a mechanism to debug your code. Otherwise, it's not touching boundary. So we can say not touching. Okay, let's give it a test. So it is not touching. Let's move it towards the parking area. See, so nicely I'm able to move the steerings. I'm able to take the turns. Nice. So this car is gradually and slowly reaching towards the parking area. Okay, so now this is touching the boundary. It is touching the boundary, but it is not completely inside the boundary area. So we cannot say the parking is done correctly. But we will have to make sure, that it is actually touching the parking area and not touching the boundary, which means my parking is done in a right way. So make a duplicate of it. Is touching to, if the car is touching to the parking area, we switch the costume to boundary. And now we will have to make sure that it doesn't touches the boundary. It doesn't touches the boundary. So let's make a copy of it and put it here. So this, see it very, very carefully. What do we want here? Here we will have to see if this car is touching, the parking area, okay? This car should actually touch the parking area and it should not touch the boundary. Here my car is touching the parking area. So we change the costume to boundary. And again, we are checking if it is touching the boundary, then we say touching boundary. And if it is not touching the boundary, it means it is inside the parking area. And we are going to say you win. Don't need this say function. And this is also not needed. No need to say something here. So this one we will remove. So understand this logic again very carefully. I will explain it to you later. But before that, let's give it a test. Let me see if it is working or not. So fine. My car needs to go take a turn. This side turn maybe. Yes. Forward again backward because I need to go to the parking area. I'm trying my best to move it towards parking area. So see here it is touching boundary, but we cannot claim a win because it is not within the boundary area. It is still not within the boundary area. Still not. So no claiming win. No claiming a victory here yet. Yes, it is still touching boundary. Yes, win. I hope you enjoyed the video. You loved it and you are going to create this game along with me. So see you soon in the next video and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon. Bye-bye.